Joining me today on the show of The New Indian is someone whose raunchy numbers brought a sensation to the market of Indian music videos a decade and a half back. But all this never came without the armed degree which she came with to Bombay and the scholarship and strong academic credentials from one of the best institutions in the world, London School of Economics. Welcome to the show, Sophie Choudry.
Thank you
It's a pleasure
so much
to have you here.
And thank you for that introduction. It's definitely the most unique and a very flattering one. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, I mean, Sophie, the kind of education you have had and also the strong credentials which you brought to Bombay almost a decade and a half back, not many people can afford to do this. How was this jump and why did you actually take such a deep plunge into this career?
It's an amazing question. Well, I'm born and brought up in London. I always wanted to sing. I was discovered by my music producer Bidu, who created amazing songs like Aap Jaisa Koi and Disco Deewane with my icon Nazia Hassan. I was 12 when I met him. He was looking for girls who could sing in Hindi to do backing vocals on a song called Made in India, which of course is an epic song by Alicia.
Right.
That's when I met him and he said, "Kid, one day I'm going to launch you." And a lot of people say things like that, but he really did. So while I was getting ready to be launched by him, I was a geek. I mean, I was the kind of girl who loved to go to school, who was a straight A student, and I was very determined to complete my education. Perhaps almost there was a certain arrogance in that I want to be someone who's educated, you know,
Right.
like fully, completely with a degree.
Right.
Kalko, nobody should say that she was a dropout who became a pop star and didn't have an education. I never wanted that. So I went to the LSE, pursued a degree in politics and French, and while I was at the LSE is when I got my first record deal as part of my girl band with Universal India,
Right.
and came and shot our first 2 songs, which became huge. And yeah, I mean, it was honestly, it was a bit of a dream. I never imagined that I would be coming to India. Even when I was singing, I thought I'd be singing in England. I didn't imagine it would be India. But I guess that's what destiny is all about, right?
Right. I talk about your description as a raunchy number during that era. Was there a conscious effort to sort of bring these steamy numbers and use sexual element to promote the songs which were from a different era, from the 60s, 70s and 80s and 90s? Because when we were growing up as kids, we all saw Bali Sagu or of course Bidu bringing these numbers and
Yes.
redoing them.
Yes.
But you sort of added the element of a sexual innuendo through these songs as well.
Honestly, Ron, maybe that was, it may sound naive of me right now, but I was very young and that was never my intention. If you think about it, when a lot of these remixes started, the first one that I did was Mera Babu Chhel Chabila. And I'm, you know, dressed like I'm in Chandni Chowk in Shalwar Kameez and a rickshaw. And, you know, that song became iconic in
Right.
a way. It was very different to all the other remixes that were happening at that time. And that was before Ek Pardesi. And again, I changed the trend in that in a lot of those music videos that were coming, for example, if you're referring to the Kanta Laga, the Kaliyon Ka Chaman or whatever they were,
Right.
they were models. And I was the only one who was the singer and the model or the featuring artist. So, of course, when Babu Chhel Chabila did well, after that they realized that, okay, things could be pushed a step more.
Right.
And, you know, essentially by then I was a household name on MTV. I was seen as this glam VJ. I honestly never thought of myself as like this sex symbol icon. I never thought about myself like
Right.
that. That only happened when I came to India and when I was on MTV. So I think even the producers at that time felt that, listen, this is part of her image. And I think we can afford to do this. But I don't think there was any conscious element from my side. I'm from London. I'm used to dressing like that. It was nothing new for me. I still get feedback for Ek Pardesi. And I get people writing to me every day, you were my school crush. Yesterday, Varun Dhawan at the launch said, when your Ek Pardesi came, I was, you know, in school and college and I couldn't get over who's this girl. And
One of the hallmarks of your career has also been that you seem to be a polyglot who can speak in any language or sing in any language with consummate ease. Not many people, singers can actually afford to do that with such sort of fascination for languages.
Yeah.
For one, I would say that, you know, some of your numbers have done pretty well on Instagram and in Tamil and Telugu. And so how difficult or easy was that to learn the languages and then sing in them as well?
I mean, I don't really think I mean, having been born and brought up abroad, you're exposed to many languages. I mean, ghar pe Hindi and outside English, and then you would take French, and I took Italian, and then I'm Punjabi, so there's the Punjabi element. And then, you know, you move here and you realize, honestly, until I moved to India, I did not realize that there are so many languages and so many states. You know, when you're abroad, you're like, South is all one. And it's only when you move here, you realize how different each state is,
Right.
how different the culture is. And I grew up with Arabic friends, so I sing in Arabic.
Right.
So I sing in all those languages. I don't speak them necessarily. But yeah, Telugu and Tamil was just something I did for fun. And Uantava is the that went viral. It went crazy to the point where people thought I was the original singer of the song,
Correct.
which I'm not. Indravati is, and she's
Right.
amazing. But it was insane to me that social media can do this.
One of the interesting questions, which I mean, of course, I wanted to ask you in the beginning as well, that when you came to this industry, were you open to the idea of working in southern movies, or for that matter, just Hindi movies alone? Because your acting career also sort of took off, but then it actually did not take off
Correct.
that much. And then you realize that singing is more of a profession which comes naturally to you.
Yeah.
You have mentioned in some of the interviews as well that you were open to the idea of learning classical singing, classical dances as well. So was this something which your mother or your parents ingrained inside you? Or?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, like living in London, I used to do Bharatnatyam because I enjoyed it. I never did Hindi classical, which is one of the reasons that when I came here, I was always seen as a pop singer. I was not seen as a playback singer because back then the voices were very typical when I first came here. So nobody would want to take a chance on me as a playback. By the time they started looking at getting different voices in playback, I was acting. So they were like, she's an actress now. She's not going to sing for somebody else.
Right.
And when it came to the acting career, the fact of the matter is I grew up on movies. It was a huge passion. Did I think I'd do movies? Not at all. I arrived here. Before I became a VJ, I met some film producers, directors. Some of them were really terrible experiences. And
Right.
the choice was either I stick it out or I go home. And there was always that I have a degree, so I don't need to worry. And, I have family backing. But I stuck it out and I said to myself, I am never going to go to an office and ask for work. The person, if I'm going to do films, they will call me. And then that's what happened. I became an MTV VJ. I became, according to everybody, an overnight sensation, household name, whatever you want to call it. Babu Chel Chabila happened, Ik Pardesi, Jadugar Saiyan happened, and then my favorite David Sir called me and said, I'm
Right.
going to launch you.
Right.
So what I said was right. I'm never going to go. Somebody would call me. He called me. I didn't even ask what the script was. I was such a David Dhawan fan. I was like, whatever you're doing, I'm in it. I didn't know there was 5 other girls. He's launching me in this,
Same.
Yeah, I had no idea. Then I did Pyar Ke Side Effects with Rahul Bose, which was an amazing experience. But again, was slotted so quickly because it was like, you're a VJ, you're from London, you're a pub diva, you're hot, you can only do this and nothing more. And that was really tiresome. I literally had been told by directors, "Aap hot dikhte ho na, don't think." Like, you don't need to be intelligent.
Right.
That's really hard for someone like me, like if people say things like that. Today,
Right.
people really won't say those things.
Also, I discovered over the past few weeks or so that you often try to post videos, impromptu videos of yours where you're dancing in the rain and so on. They also became sort of a sensation as well. Essentially speaking, do you think that time has come for everyone in this country to realize the potential of social media like Instagram and Facebook and YouTube to connect with the masses? Before COVID and after COVID, there is sort of a relevance.
That's a huge difference. I mean, the whole game has changed. If you're an independent music artist, the whole game has changed. I mean, I'm someone who's come from the school of let's make an 8-song album
Right.
and put it out there. And then today, it's a question of will your song work on Reels? Will it trend?
Right.
Is 30 seconds catchy enough?
Right.
Because people's attention span does not expand beyond 15 seconds.
Right.
It's a very different world. So you have to, if you want to be relevant, you have to move with the times.
You talked about consumption of content. We want to tell you that, that since when I was with the print and television before over the wire, business wire, I took a conscious effort to sort of enter into the digital space where some of us journalists from strong careers in print or television, we sort of thought, digital is the only way to
Stay relevant.
stay relevant.
Yes.
And be also touch the millennials who consume their news largely on the internet, whether it is WhatsApp, Facebook,
Absolutely.
Twitter, YouTube or things like that. That is the only way. I mean, I at least consume now my days.
Absolutely.
How do you do that?
Same. I was the girl who would wake up every morning and read all the newspapers until a couple of years
And now
ago.
everything on
In
mobile?
fact, I think the newspapers, believe it or not, only stopped coming around COVID time. Because otherwise in the morning, that is what I would do. But अब ऐसा हो गया है कि digital पे news इतनी fast आती है कि अगर आप paper में पढ़ो वो एक दिन पुरानी हो जाती है. So if you want to stay current and you want to be real, you've got to read it as it's happening.
So that sort of that,
So
that
that
sort of
is the
helps
digital,
us as well.
Yeah, it helps people like you. It also helps people like me to kind of stay connected, know exactly what's happening in the
Right.
world. And even in the entertainment world, you know, we now know kaun si picture aa rahi hai, kab aa rahi hai, kiska kya ho raha hai. And when it comes to my personal work, वो भी आप तक जल्दी पहुंच जाता है.
Right.
You know, पहले हम ये सोचते थे कि हमारी मार्केटिंग के लिए हमको वो फ्रंट पेज खरीदना है.
Not anymore.
People don't know this, but there were some very prestigious
Papers were
press
charged.
outlets which were charged, and you know, you would figure, how do I get on the front
Not
page, and
anymore.
that's my branding. Not anymore. So when I tell you, Rohan, it's a level playing field today. It
So
pretty
thanks to
much
people like
is.
us,
I don't know
which
about
have
thanks
made
to people
lives
like
easier
us,
for
but
you.
thanks to the world of social media,
No, of course, yeah.
it's a level
No
playing field for
discrimination
many.
against them anymore.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I would largely say that considering people like us who, after long careers, long-standing careers, we left and desolated our careers in print or television and we shifted to digital, we realized the potential of it. And we believe that to sort of reach out to the millennials, or for that matter, even the consumers, the readers and the viewers between the age group of 15 to 55, it's essential to sort of tell them that, you know, we exist on social
100%.
media.
100%. I mean, I say that, like, if it weren't for work, this is the way you tell people you exist. This is the
Absolutely.
way you put across your talent. And that's what I've been doing.
You talked about your career in singing.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a very specific question on film as well.
Yeah.
Did you actually actively try and give auditions to act in a movie or the offer of Shadi Number, your debut Bollywood movie? It sort of came out of the blue. You mentioned about
Yeah,
David
it came out of the blue. Because Ik Pardesi was such a huge hit. David sir called me and he said, I want to launch you. Before that, I had gone to meet people.
There were no auditions before that for any.
I'd gone for auditions, I'd gone to meet people. My experiences were pretty seedy and terrible. It was very much, oh, you're the girl from London. Oh, this, oh, that. I mean, all the stories you hear very much are true.
Right.
So I did not ever want to put myself in that situation or predicament, which is why I then said, I'm never going to ask anybody for work. I'm not going to go for an audition.
But then, of course, the laurels for you as a singer, the plaudits which came from different sections of the society, which I talked about, whether it is people who have actually studied abroad and come back with such wonderful degrees like you and I.
And like you.
So did that sort of help you get connected with those masses as well, who were only used to seeing these forms of art which you had not portrayed before, people who have not been able to go to these prestigious institutions and do the same thing? Did they sort of help you
No,
connect
I don't
with
think
them?
so. I don't think so. It's really funny, but I always thought that my education would be very highly valued in this industry, and you know, people around, and you know, people of a certain standing, they'd be like, oh, but you know, she went to LSE. That was not the case at all. I mean, that was like a full-on reality check. In my line of work, that satisfaction and confidence remains with me about my education. No one else is impressed by it. No one else is interested. The only thing that works here is whether you're working or not. Are you successful? Is what you're doing making sense? Is it making an impact? Nobody cares. That's a fact. But I care. It helps me go to sleep well at night. I feel really good. I feel like a complete person. A lot of people say to me, oh, you're so well-spoken, or you're so confident, you can handle yourself in any situation. And I always say that's because of my education. I can speak on anything. I'm well-rounded. I'm well-read, yes. But it's not necessary, right? We have some people who are, you know, very well-spoken and amazing people in the industry who are perhaps not as educated. So
Right.
it's not about that at
Right.
all. At the end of it, it's only about the work you put out.
Right. It definitely helps to have such a huge scholarship which you have had, to be this erudite and well-read, to have an esoteric taste in literature, to have an esoteric taste in politics. But is there any political leader that has sort of impressed you over the last decade and a half, who you think is a role model for the country, or who has done something exceedingly well than the other, maybe because it personally you got enamored of?
In India?
In India?
I mean, look, I think we had someone like Manmohan Singh ji, who was a much more silent leader, but who had the economy in shape. We have somebody like a Narendra Modi ji, who can evoke so much emotion within people.
Such as?
All kinds of different emotions, patriotism, just a certain confidence perhaps that people get, just seeing the way he speaks. And so it's so different for everybody. Me, growing up in England, I've grown up with people like Margaret Thatcher, these incredible, you know, strong female leader. And then the opposite, we've had John Major, who's been, you know, personality-less. And so it's different everywhere. I mean, when I studied in Paris, I went to an institute where all the French presidents have graduated from, you know, Jacques Chirac and everybody.
Right.
It's really different. And it's I guess it's, I don't know if you can really have, you know, your ideal choice when
Right.
it comes to politics, because the world is forever changing. Political scenarios, financial scenarios, everything's forever changing. So you need somebody who can lead. I
Right.
think that's the most important thing.
Right. Has it sort of influenced your career as well, that how you look at the film industry, the impetus which may have been given during the era of the Congress or that of the NDA government? Because the current incumbent Prime Minister seems to regularly interact with the Bollywood as well.
I mean, I can't comment on that, Rohan, because I've never interacted with our Prime Minister as yet.
Right.
But he does seem somebody who does want to interact with everybody.
Right.
And comes across that way and is probably interested in how the film industry comes across and how they portray themselves. But I think all of them have been in some way. I mean, look,
Right.
at the end of the day, films is not politics.
Right.
It is entertainment for all of us.
Right.
And somewhere along the line, when we're in this country, whatever profession we're pursuing, whether it's films or sports or cricket, we're
Right.
all interested and we're
Right.
all attached in some way. And I feel that that's the way he also shows it as well.
Correct.
And I think every career wants to be encouraged.
Among all the songs that you have sung,
Yeah.
which one today remains your firm favorite, and whether it is any foot tapping number or the ones which is melodious?
I always say Ek Pardesi will be iconic for me, but I do love Mera Babu Chel Chabila, and my new song Gori Hai really is a tribute to those kind of songs, with everybody on social media asking me every single day, when are you doing another song? When are you doing Ek Pardesi 2.0? I'm kind of like, you can't recreate a classic because I've done that already, so
Right.
I need to do something new. So that was the idea behind Gori Hai, which I really am proud of. The way it sounds, the track, the vocals, everything. I mean, it is in a way a tribute to Bapida, who's
Right.
an absolute icon and a
Absolutely.
legend. And it's really funny because for a lot of us, this song is nostalgic. But for that 16 to 22 age group, they never knew the song, Gori Hai Kalaiyan. They've never
Right.
heard it. So in a way, it's kind of bringing it to them as well. So
Right.
honestly, for me right now, I do think this is one of my most special songs.
We lost two of incredible voices in this country,
And
Bapida
both of
and
these,
Lata
and both
Mangeshkar.
of these are part of. She had originally sung Gori Hai Kalaiyan. See, Lata ji to was iconic
जी.
and completely out of reach, क्योंकि उनकी आवाज़ और texture was, I mean, nothing like I could personally imagine.
जी.
मेरे लिए personally, Asha ji was my favorite, is my favorite. I think her voice is just incredibly expressive. I think it has a lot of namak, as you say. It's just, I mean, there's something very special about Asha ji.
जी.
Lata ji to is the untouchable
जी.
icon. So there have been many. I mean, there's many current singers. Rafi Saab, of course, was very
जी,
special.
जी.
I was lucky to see Kishore Da in concert. So I've as a very small kid, तो मैंने बहुत सारे देखे हुए live singers.
जी.
So all of these, of course, leave an impression on all of us. And Bapida, I feel, was someone who's very ahead of his time. मैं ज़्यादातर, because growing up in London, मैं बहुत सारे Western singers को सुनती थी. So
ठीक है.
it would have been the Whitney Houstons and the Mariah Careys and that. And along with that, the Asha ji ka tadka. And of course, Nazia Hassan, who I
जी.
loved growing up.
जी.
Because मेरे लिए वो एक pop आवाज़ थी. वो एक हिंदुस्तानी pop और देसी pop आवाज़ थी. I
जी.
should say, बाकी सारे तो playback थे और बहुत ज़्यादा सीखे हुए थे.
जी.
और मैंने Western classical किया हुआ था, तो I could relate to the voices of like a Nazia or an Alicia. That was very cool for me.
जी.
So I think उनका influence तो definitely मुझ पे रहा है.
How essential today is for someone to stay away from the toxicities of life, maintain a fitness mantra, maintain a regimen?
When I look at Jennifer Lopez, I want to see her like that. She is my icon and I love her like that. And I know how much discipline and hard work it takes to do that. So there is discipline, there
Right.
is hard work, but it's not hard for me because it's something I love and it's
Right.
very much imbibed in me and part of my life.
Right.
But today, for anybody new who's coming up, it's a little bit of a different scenario. You don't have to be that typical, you know, perfect figure person. That talent, I really believe, does override everything.
Right.
And even if you look at my video, Gori Hai, you'll see that all the girls that I've used, the dancers, I've not used like the typical perfect Gori Chitti dancers. It's not about that. I think today you've got to be inclusive.
Right.
All my girls are very real.
Right.
Different skin tones, different shapes, sizes, everything. They're just talented.
Right.
So I really propagate that. Yes, fitness and health, especially after the pandemic, should be number one in anyone's life. But is it all about your physicality? Not necessarily. For me, more than yoga, it's Pilates. I do like yoga. It's great for the breathing and everything. I go for my Pilates regularly. I avoid white sugar as much as possible for my own health. But I eat. I'm Punjabi. I eat good khana, yaar. I can't not eat good khana. But yes, maintaining fitness is a very important part of my life, and it's something I actually enjoy. And I think now more than ever, we all have the value for it. And it's not just physical fitness, it's mental fitness as well.
If given a choice, would you ever want to go back to the UK and settle there, or India is the east or west, India is the best?
Honestly, when I came to this country, I never anticipated the kind of love I would get here, the kind of acceptance I would get here. I mean, you know, very often the word outsider is used by people who are not industry kids. I'm the proper outsider. I've come from a different country. I'm not even from India. So the amount of love that I've received is overwhelming, and I'm eternally grateful for it.
Right.
This feels like home to me. My mom and I have made a beautiful life here. I have my home here. I have my friends here.
Many people outside Mumbai, whether across the political spectrum or yonder, they believe that sometimes a dynasty politics, an equivalent to the dynasty politics, also sort of exists in the Bollywood as well. Did that sort of dissuade you from pursuing a career that, you know, look, here are the icons from one particular family who are being promoted in the industry. It's a close-knit cartel which operates in Bollywood. Did that sort of deter you from?
Not at all, because I don't believe it works like that. I mean, I know a lot of people do point fingers like that. And I just want to say that the same outsiders who point fingers to the so-called Bollywood legacy or dynasty, tomorrow when they have kids, they will also be part of that dynasty and legacy. If you're an outsider, but you've become a movie actor and you have a kid, your kid is also part of that legacy. They're not an outsider anymore.
But do you agree that it exists?
No, I agree that in any field of work, there are people who have relationships, long-lasting relationships. There are people who have comfort levels. Tomorrow, I mean, if for example, I was born into this industry, I would know everyone ever since I was a kid. To approach them for something, to ask for a favor would be much easier for me. Does that mean I'm going to become a star? Not necessarily, because that ultimate acceptance comes from the audience.
Right.
You can pump in as much money and as much might as you want, but if you do not connect with the audience, they are never going to accept you. It doesn't matter whose kid you are.
Right.
That's been proved time and time again. So what is the point of holding a grudge? You know, tomorrow if I was to make my debut, I don't have that much pressure on me. Tomorrow, if a star kid, as we want to call them, that's what you're referring to, has to make a debut, the pressure is tremendous. You know, so I'm saying that at the end of the day, I don't like to think of it like that. I feel like in a business family, it's the same. You're born into a business family. I have many more connections than somebody who's not part of a business family has. I can ask for those favors. I know those people. That's where I've grown up. That's what I know. How can anyone hold me responsible for that? I did not choose to be born there. So I think, I don't know, this debate seems incredibly unfair to me.
Is it skewed in favor of those people who have had a rich past, whether it is...
But look at one of the biggest stars of our country. There's Amitabh Bachchan, who did not at all. There's Shah Rukh Khan, who did not at all. Look at all the people who've come and become massive stars in this country. Deepika Padukone, what does she have to do with this industry? Nothing. I mean, the list is endless of people who've come from the outside and left an indelible mark. So let's not deny that. Yes, there are some families where generationally they've carried on. The Kapoors. But are you going to tell me Kareena Kapoor is not a fabulous actress? Are you not going to tell me, are you going to tell me Ranbir Kapoor is not outstanding? They're deserving, they're brilliant, so why are we trying to bring people down? For what? I feel like here, eventually it evens out. The people who are meant to be here and succeed, the audience gives their love and they succeed. And if the audience is not connecting with them, eventually it does not work out for them.
I mean, you spoke about the fact that, I mean, it did not deter you from entering into the space where you were...
Rohan, I saw more people from outside the industry racing past me. I saw many people coming from outside the industry getting the kind of roles and things I wanted to do for whatever reason. No judgment on anybody, but I saw many new faces who were just...
If there are industry people, there are industrious people as well. They have sort of an easy access to enter into that industry.
No, but you're still saying you have an easy access to enter the industry, but can you last? Can you sustain? Because the name of this game is how long can you sustain?
Does it bother you, or does it sort of influence you or change your perception when the calls for boycott boycotting the movies are made across the country, whether it is Lal Singh Chadda or for that matter,
Yeah.
anyone for that matter.
I don't want to get into the politics of this. When I think of anything which is to do with a boycott, I just feel sad. I feel sad because a movie is not made just by one or two stars. There's an entire crew of technicians. There's a lot of people who put literal blood, sweat, and tears. This is their job. This is what they live for. It's their
Right.
livelihood. And when you're boycotting a project, आप सबके पेट पे लात मार रहे हो.
Irrespective whether there is a merit or
No. There's no question of merit. If you're in the movie, there's no question of that. It's so easy to use that word. वो word आजकल trending में आ गया है.
But then people say they have misgivings, certain actor or an actress may have said a few things which sort of triggered this.
I think words can be powerful and they can affect people for sure. I have lived my entire career being non-controversial, so I'm not going to let
Absolutely.
you get me started on
Of
that
course
now.
not.
I'm not a controversial person and my intention is never to hurt anyone.
Correct.
And with all my heart, I genuinely believe artists don't want to hurt people. Sometimes perhaps they say things and maybe they're taken out of context. Sometimes they say things without realizing. There's a million reasons why things happen.
जो एक आउटरीच हुआ है वो शायद इसलिए भी हो जाता है कि कई बारी डिपिक्शन जो है चाहे वो हिंदू भगवान की हो या किसी और धर्म की हो जहाँ पे आप धर्म को थोड़ा सा डिस्टॉर्शन में दिखा दें तो शायद लोगों की जो फीलिंग होती है वो कहीं ना कहीं डिस्टर्ब हो जाती है बिकॉज फेथ इज अ मैटर.
देखिए I think that is one thing one should always be careful of and one should respect all faiths and never get into that. We are entertainers.
We'll end up this question, this interview, by making a request to you if you can sing one of your songs or maybe a couple of lines for us,
Of
which should go
course.
viral on the digital as well.
Of course. Well, it has to be the new one, which is Gori hai.
Whatever suits you.
it has to be. गोरी है कलाइयाँ तू ला दे मुझे हरी हरी चूड़ियाँ अपना बना ले मुझे साजना मांगे है बस तुझे दिल मेरा बेसब्रा all the time जाने मन करे तेरा शुक्रा सुन मेरे माहिया पुकारे तुझे मेरी अंगड़ाइयाँ अपना बना ले मुझे साजना एक परदेसी मेरा दिल ले गया जाते जाते मीठा मीठा गम दे गया जाने अनजाने उसे पता न चला मोटी मोटी अखियों में आंसू दे गया